Hey everyone, welcome or welcome back to MYC Uncensored Women in STEM podcast series. Today I'm joined by Alise Fox, an immensely inquisitive and passionate fisheries scientist who tells us about the different experiences she's had before finding her dream job. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, amazing. So my first question for you is, would you be able to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself and some context about your background and I guess the environment around you growing up?
Yeah, so my name is Elise Fox. I call myself a mathematician, but I kind of wear a lot of different hats. And right now I work as a fisheries scientist. So I work in stock assessment. So my job is all about doing population modeling, so using maths and statistics and marine biology and lots of different things, combining them all together to figure out how fish populations are tracking and if they're at risk of being overfished. So I call myself a mathematician because it's kind of like fish and maths combined. Um, yeah, I guess I've always loved maths, and I ever since high school I knew that I enjoyed maths and I was good at maths, but I didn't really know what a mathematician was because there was nothing really role modeled to me. So I've done a lot of different careers and projects and sort of had a bit of a wobbly journey along the way before landing in the job that I've got. Yeah, so I guess I've always loved maths and I've always loved nature and the environment. So I'm really happy that I've ended up in a role where I get to combine both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I think with the idea of having subjects or being exposed to different I guess fields at a young age is very important. Would you say that you had the ability or opportunity to, I guess, expose yourself and explore different career paths, or when you were younger, you kind of just knew like there was a domain that you wanted to focus on and you just like focused on that?
Yeah, I think I've always wanted to do a million different things. I remember when I was really little, I was like, I'm going to be the first woman on Mars, and that was my goal. I'm not sure why I gendered that. Like, like no one's been on Mars yet. Um, um, yeah, so I think I've always been very sort of STEM focused. Um, but I'm also, I'm quite a creative person. I love music, so I've sort of been pulled in lots of different directions, but STEM was always where I sort of assumed I would land, but how that looked was really scary and confusing because, when you're in grade 10 or something and they sit you down and say, pick your subjects, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And by that stage, I knew that I liked maths, but I didn't know what I could do. Like the only person I knew who did maths for a job was my maths teacher because that was the person in front of me because there wasn't podcasts about jobs in STEM for women and everything. So yeah, I started by that was my first step. I thought, all right, my maths teacher does math. That looks fun. So I started with that, and that was my first uni degree and my first career.
Mhm.
But it didn't last very long. I was there for about 2 terms. So I spent 4 years at uni and then became a maths teacher and lasted 2 terms teaching. And then I thought, nope, I'm out and decided to go back to uni. And so I studied. I still had this idea that I really loved maths, but I still didn't know what a mathematician was or what that meant. So I started doing more degrees. So I did my honors degree, which was using maths and applying it to biomechanics.
Mhm.
So looking at how people move and wobble when they ride bikes and defining that mathematically. So doing a sort of sports science flavor of maths. And that was really cool. And then I was like, all right, I love maths. So I kept going and I started a PhD, which ended up as a master's degree by the end. And that was still using maths, but applied to engineering, so pavement engineering. I was looking at roads that we drive on, and how they squish and deform when things drive over them, and trying to model that mathematically. And I guess by this stage, I knew that my niche that I love is using maths to describe to describe real world sort of phenomena, real world systems, like use taking maths, all the equations and the numbers and whatever from the classroom, but applying them to the real world. And I think that's the niche I've found. And so finished my squishy road master's degree and then thought roads, I'm very over them. I I couldn't see myself doing that forever. And then it was really scary because I'd finished all the degrees that I was going to do for a long, long time.
Mhm.
Um, and I was, oh, this is it. I don't know, I was in my 20s or something. And I was like, okay, now I've finally got to get a job. I've got to figure it out. I've got to find something to do. And so I was looking at all the options in front of me. One option was to be the host of a kids' TV science show.
Okay.
There was a show called Scope on Channel 10, and they were recruiting for a new host. I was like, oh, I would love that. That's the creative side coming into it. There was also, I taught at uni for a long time, so I could pursue that. But also, my best friend was like, hey, there's a job going where I work. It's maths, but it's maths applied to fish. So, maths come and apply. So I did. And I didn't have any background studying fish, but it's the maths
Hmm.
underlying thing, which like is that transferable skill of maths and STEM that you can sort of jump between different fields.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my life story of my career so far. And now I'm 6 years into my job and I love it.
Oh, that's amazing. I think though it is very important, especially for young girls. I think there's this big idea about the career or the path that you choose from high school to university is the one that you have to stick to. And I think people get really overwhelmed by that concept, and I feel like they don't really understand that there are so many options out there for them, and it's hard to put weight on an 18-year-old to choose their career path for the whole future. And I think from the interviews that I've had, it's been a very common occurrence that your job path will always change. There's always some change happening. And most of the time, when you choose a career path at the age of 18 or I guess, career to go into in uni or degree to choose, a lot of the time that will change. What do you think, or what would you say to someone who kind of had the idea that y- at 18, I have to choose what I'm going to be for the rest of my life?
Yeah, I have been there. I remember when I was at school having that, that point where you have to pick first your senior school subjects and then your university degree. And I felt like I was the only one who hadn't figured it out because I was like, there's infinity things that I could do as a next step, and it's so scary. And what if I don't like it? Like, how long am I committing to this decision that I haven't thought through fully because I'm still exploring the world? My two best friends in high school, one of them said I'm going to be a dentist, and the other one said I'm going to be a vet, and that was about 20 years ago, and they're still doing those jobs. And that's awesome because some people just know and they can pursue it and they can stick to it, but some people, including myself, it's overwhelming and it's scary. And it's I guess what I've learned looking back, because now I'm on the other side of it, and I think, okay, well, it's not so scary, it's not so definite. You don't have to map out the entire journey. You just gotta pick the thing you're gonna do tomorrow and then take the first step. And there's always gonna be flexibility, and there's always gonna be more options. And whatever you do, you're gonna be gaining skills, you're gonna be gaining knowledge and transferable skills. And when I look back at all those weird things I've done, now when I'm modeling fish, I'll think, oh, I've got to apply this technique. Oh, that's similar to the thing I did when I was studying riding bikes or when I was studying teaching or something. Like, there's so many things that you just pick up along the way. So nothing is ever wasted time. It's just sort of wiggles in your journey, and it's definitely not a linear pathway. It doesn't have to be, especially with STEM, because there are so many options and there are so many pathways, and the jobs that you might end up in probably don't exist yet because it's changing so rapidly, and who knows what the world's going to look like in a few years.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really important. And the idea of flexibility as well, that I think STEM gives a lot of people, is also a very big positive that people I think don't really talk about too much.
Hmm.
In terms of obviously you've have shifted quite a few times, but in terms of the career that you have right now, just growing up and going through those different fields, what would you say the biggest challenges you faced are? And maybe are they all related to you being a female, or are there other challenges that maybe you faced other than just being a female?
Yeah, I guess yeah, I think definitely like where I am in my job and my career and life now, there definitely are challenges. And I think despite the challenges, despite all the privilege that I have in my life, I think I'm very, very privileged. Like I have an amazing husband who's a feminist, and I have a very supportive workplace and a beautiful network around me. So I definitely, come from a place of privilege. Um, and despite that, there are still definitely challenges, I think confidence is a big one for me. I often find myself in a room and someone says something and I don't, I feel like I shouldn't, or someone says something that I'm pretty sure is wrong, but I don't want to speak up because they probably know better. Um, Even though I'm the expert in that topic, and I think that's like a female thing because we're just sort of, I don't see the boys having those same concerns. Um, I think too, I've had some challenging professional relationships as well, especially with the professor I had at university. Who, was quite influential on my studies and the progress of my career. And just he'd sort of say some horrible things and put me down a lot and comment on other women and stuff. It's just like really gross things, pushing a lot of boundaries. And I think that set me back quite a way as well. And I think that's a very inherent. Again, I don't think that would have happened if I was a male.
Mhm.
So there's definitely been some challenges
Yeah, absolutely.
attached to my gender, despite all the luck and privilege I've had in my life.
Yeah, I think in the end there definitely will be challenges faced, but I think it's always refreshing to hear the fact that it is declining, or there have been more cases or more experiences where females feel uplifted. And a common thing has been said that it's not just females uplifting females. There are a lot more incidences now where males are also uplifting and working with females and don't
Mm.
see them in a different light, which I think is a really good sign of progression. But at the same time, I think it's important to still, I think, account for the fact that we still have a way to go in terms of the way that women and men interact, and even females on females interact. Because I think as a whole society, it's important to create an uplifting environment, and I guess steer away from the fact that a woman can do certain things and a man can do certain things, and that we can all work together in, I guess, a symbiotic relationship to build everyone up. But yeah, absolutely. I think getting everyone's opinion, everyone's story is very important, though, in talking about those issues. So yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Um, in your time, of course, you've shifted different roles, and as you said, when you were younger, I guess where you ended up now is very, very different to what you would have imagined. So my question to you is, how has your definition of success changed over time?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think in on a personal sort of in a personal way, it's me seeing my confidence grow and me, you know, sticking my neck out a bit more and sort of taking more risks professionally and personally and interpersonally. Um, if, and also meeting people and learning from others as well and being able to I don't know, I think I'm very critical of but I used to be very critical of myself and think, oh, I'm not doing enough, I'm not successful enough, blah 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 blah. And then when you start to talk to other people, you realize that we're all just doing our best because it's so easy to compare yourself to others and think, man, they're doing so great, why aren't I doing that? But everyone's just on their own journey. I think it's really important to not compare yourself to other people and just count your own wins as your wins.
Mhm.
A big pivotal point for me was, so I left uni feeling pretty deflated, to be honest, for a lot of reasons, including, one of the biggest losses I had was that nasty professor convinced me that my work was terrible and I should downgrade my work from it I was enrolled in a PhD, and he was like, "No, no, you suck. You should submit it as a master's degree instead." Which is terrible advice, but I listened to it because that's what I thought I should do. And now I've got a master's degree, not a PhD, and you live and you learn, and all I can do is tell people to back themselves and not listen to the naysayers.
Mhm.
Um, so I felt pretty deflated after uni, and took a while to build up that confidence again, even though, in hindsight, I'm smart and I'm clever and I'm good at my job. But I'm lucky that I've got a lot of good people around me. And I had some people encourage me to apply for an award, the Queensland Women in STEM Prize, which I was like, I'm not worthy. I shouldn't be able to apply for that. But I don't know, as a way of like healing and self growth or whatever, I put my name in and put in an application, and I won highly commended in 2022,
Oh,
which was
congratulations.
awesome and unexpected. Thank you. And it was really unexpected and really, really pivotal for me. And once you win one thing, you're sort of in that little mode and you can win a few more prizes and you feel more worthy of applying for things and building yourself up. So that's a very measurable way of looking at success. It's like, here's a prize, here's this, here's that. But I think just having someone encourage me to apply for something like that in the first place was really, really pivotal for me. And building up my support network and sharing your wins with other people, it just keeps raising the bar higher and higher because you've got all these people cheering you on and you want to cheer them on, and it's just wholesome. And it's all women as well. Like, just women cheering on women, I think is really important in science. You spoke before about like the about interactions between men and women in STEM, and I think that when you find the right group, it's a really uplifting, really motivational, really just wholesome community to be a part of. And so that's been a big, big thing for me, finding the right people and lifting each other up.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess my next question would be to you. What would you say? So of course you shifted in roles, but you stuck and a fishery scientist, am I correct? Fishery scientist.
Yep.
That one stuck. I guess maybe give us a bit of context about why that stuck. What was so exciting about the job that made you really, really choose this one?
Yeah, I think it's a way of combining maths and nature, like maths and the environment and sustainability. Because that's always been really important. I talked about um how I love maths being applied to the real world, but also I love nature and I love the ocean and I love everything about the natural world. So it's a way to combine that. And it's really exciting when so my job, I basically take on projects that last maybe, a year. I look at a species in one area, and my job is to figure out how that population's tracking. And the end result of that is to say, this is a number, this is how that population's tracking. And then I can give advice to what fishing laws might need to be changed or how that fishery should be managed. And so it's really exciting when I get to the end and I can have influence on like a population of fish and say, maybe we should catch less fish, or maybe we can catch more and we get, jobs will be thriving and fish populations are thriving. It's really cool to see that impact in real life.
Mhm.
But it's also a very political job. So it's a bit of a challenge sometimes as well, because, if fish populations aren't tracking well, then that's not good for anybody, because it affects people and it affects their jobs and it affects food security. And it's always a big challenge when,
Mhm.
from my work, it's not a happy ending. And that's a big challenge. And being able to communicate the work I do is a really big aspect as well, because it's all well and good to say, here's a number, the population's not doing great. It's all it's all about communicating the work we do and communicating the science and the complicated topics to help people understand them and be able to understand why.
Mhm.
results are the way they are. So that's a pretty big challenge.
Yeah, amazing. Absolutely. And I think it's really important though to love what you do. And I think sometimes I've spoken to other women in STEM and I guess my friends as well, and I don't know if it's biological or just something that happens, but I think females or women just have like, I guess, a tendency for perfectionism that they really want to be perfect for the job, or they won't apply or they won't reach for something if they don't know, if they're not 100% sure they're the best fit possible. So I think in that sense, sometimes females or women just make sacrifices that they really don't need to, and they have the ability to explore. So I think it's really inspiring that you were able to find something that you were very passionate about and you stuck to it even amidst the challenges that are faced in the job. So yeah, absolutely, very, very interesting. My final question to you is, if you had any words of wisdom or were speaking to your younger self or a room full of young females who are, I guess, interested in STEM and weren't fully sure, is there anything you would say to them? And if so, what would you say?
I would say so many things. I've given like a 1 hour lecture on all the things I'd tell my younger self, things I wish I knew. Um, I guess, especially from the perspective of being female, just to remember that being a female doesn't make you any less capable of doing a job, but by being female, you're probably more prone to underestimate yourself. Like you were saying, women are way less likely to apply for a job based on the number of criteria they meet compared to a male. So I think we definitely have internalized biases that are holding us back. So I think it's important to acknowledge that and look them in the eye and say, get out of here. So like acknowledge those biases that we have and I guess take more risks because taking risks can seem really scary, especially if you're trying to map out a perfect career. You're allowed to make mistakes, you'll bounce back. And also getting used to rejection, which is really scary as well. Because rejection is going to happen a lot and you just have to get used to it. And getting rejected from something doesn't mean it, getting rejected from something, a job or a university application or whatever it is, it doesn't mean you suck. It just means that you tried something and the timing's not right or the stars weren't aligned or whatever. So try things and if you fail, it doesn't matter. You can just try something else. And I guess something else was ask questions. It took me so long to learn how to ask questions and be brave enough to ask questions and admit when I don't know things. And that's such a waste of time. I had someone join my work a few years ago, and she's just so good at asking questions. She can ask the most basic questions, but still be the smartest person in the room. And that's a skill that I really want to work on as well. And I wish I could tell younger versions of myself to work on that as well. Like, don't worry about looking dumb, just ask questions because it demonstrates that you're engaged and you want to learn things. Yeah, that's probably my three biggest pieces of advice. I've got
Yeah,
heaps more.
amazing. Yeah, absolutely. I think it really comes with experience as well, the insights that you get, and it really does come down to how many things you've been exposed to, which is why I speak to so many females because they all have different experiences and all have different advice, which is very, very interesting. So that's all my questions. Is there anything that you would like to add before we wrap up the interview?
Um, I think. Something else that I wish I knew earlier. So I got diagnosed neurodivergent a couple of years ago, so I was 32. And man, I wish I knew that so much sooner. So I'm
Yeah.
ADHD and autistic. And had I known that when I was like your age, life would have been so much easier, I
Yeah,
think.
because you can work
Um,
around those and like learn how to work. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
And and I think I spent a lot of time just like seeing other people just come in and get on with their work and just do their thing and just feel like they have their sort of life sorted. And I was like, mine's not like that at all. But I guess, yeah, had I known that my brain doesn't work the same way as theirs, I wouldn't have spent so much time and energy just comparing myself and trying to match
Hmm.
whatever, not be true to who I am. So, even if you're not neurodivergent, but just spending time thinking about what works for you and thinking about, maybe you need to have a fidget spinner, maybe you need to get up and walk around, maybe you need to work during the night, not during the day. Like just thinking about the things that suit you and the way you operate, and just having the confidence and comfort to do it and not worry about what other people think. I think that's something that I wish I knew a lot sooner as well. And just wanted to add that in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really important. In terms of different learning styles as well. And I think people, I guess, don't are not open to the different ways that different people learn. Because as humans, we're all different people and we all learn different
Mm.
ways. And I think it's really important to I guess broaden the horizon about the way different people learn and communicate. And in that way, I think it's really important to bring that type of inclusivity, not just women, into those fields. So that was really interesting, and thank you for sharing that. So that is pretty much everything that I have for you. I just like to thank you so much for all your time and thank you for all your answers to the questions. They were absolutely amazing.